It was one of those unexpectedly stormy afternoons, where clouds gathered ominously, cloaking the sun in a muted gray light. Sarah stood in her dimly lit bathroom, the sound of raindrops tapping feverishly against the glass window like frantic fingers. She couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over her like a heavy fog. With every brush of her teeth, she felt the weight of her thoughts, swirling like the tempest outside. It was as if the universe conspired to remind her of her solitude, a constant echo of her deep-seated fears. Just as she glanced at herself in the mirror, a sudden movement caught her eye. There, in the doorway, stood Jake, her loyal golden retriever, watching her with an intensity that seemed to pierce through her melancholic haze. "Seriously?" Sarah muttered, the ghost of a smile creeping onto her face. "You too?" Jake didn't budge. Instead, he took a step forward, his fluffy tail wagging ever so slightly, that goofy grin of his melting away the walls she had built around herself. It was crazy how the presence of this furry creature could shift the heaviness in her heart, turning despair into moments of warmth and joy. As she finished rinsing her mouth, Sarah felt a surge of anxiety wash over her again. What if something was wrong? What if life continued to throw unending challenges her way? The reminder of her past weighed heavily on her. She had once been vibrant and optimistic, but a series of unfortunate events had dimmed her spirit. Her gaze softened at Jake, who had now plopped himself down at her feet, eyes sparkling with unconditional love. He had been her rock since she adopted him from the shelter, helping her navigate the tumultuous seas of grief after losing her beloved Max. As sentimental as it was, Jake had coaxed her back to a semblance of normalcy, piece by hesitant piece. But just as quickly as the moment sparked warmth in her heart, a loud crash reverberated through the house, jolting her thoughts like a lightning strike. Sarah's breath hitched and she jumped, her heart racing. "What now?" she whispered, glancing down at Jake, whose ears were already perked up, ready for action. "Stay here," she instructed, though her voice was more uncertain than commanding. Sarah knew Jake too well. He had an uncanny knack for disregarding her instructions whenever adventure called to him. True to form, he darted ahead, his paws pattering against the tile floor while Sarah trailed behind, her heart pounding in a mix of fear and dread. She rounded the corner into the kitchen to find a scene that made her both amused and exasperated. The open window, flecked with raindrops, had become an unwelcome intruder, sending flower packages flying like confetti across the room. Her precious baking supplies lay scattered, a chaotic tribute to the wind. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me," Sarah exclaimed, taking in the sight before her. Jake, her ever-enthusiastic companion, had already plunged into the mess, rolling around in the white powder like a cloud of joy. Flour was airborne, creating an almost magical effect around him, coating his golden fur in a soft layer of white. "Jake, you little troublemaker," she laughed, covering her mouth in disbelief. His playful spirit transformed the disaster into a comical display of pure joy. She couldn't help but capture the moment on her phone, knowing that one day this would be a cherished memory, a snapshot of their life together, chaos and all. After what felt like ages, she managed to clean up the kitchen, both grateful and slightly sore from the unexpected workout. The laughter lingered in the air, a testament to Jake's knack for turning even the direst situations into moments of levity. He nuzzled against her leg, fluffy and flour-dusted, looking up at her as if to say, "See? We can make anything fun." "All right, partner," she teased, ruffling his fur affectionately. "At least you make the cleanup worth it." The dark clouds had lifted, revealing a glimmer of brightness even amidst the storm. In those moments, Sarah realized that Jake wasn't just a pet. He was a vital piece of her heart, filling the void that life had left behind. After Max's passing, the empty spaces in her home echoed with memories, but Jake had sown warmth back into those cracks. Then came the sound of her phone buzzing insistently on the countertop. As she wiped her hands on a dish rag, she glanced at the screen to see a message from her friend, Lila. "Don't forget the book club tomorrow." "Bring Jake! He's one of us!" A wave of excitement washed over her. The idea of attending the gathering filled her with anticipation and anxiety in equal measure. Having been in a funk for weeks, she suddenly felt the need to break away from her routine, to immerse herself in conversation and laughter even if just for a night. "Jake, what do you say? Shall we get out of the house tomorrow?" she asked, looking down at him. he responded with a joyous bark, making her chuckle. I'll take that as a yes. A sense of liberation lit up inside her. Perhaps she wasn't as far removed from life as she had feared. In that moment, she made a silent promise to herself to embrace whatever came next. After all, she had a furry companion who believed in the magic of everyday adventures, no matter how trivial they seemed. Suddenly, a thought struck her. What if I bake some treats for the book club? She mused, already imagining how her friends would delight in sharing cookies alongside their discussion. You can help me, Jake. As she set to work gathering ingredients once more, Jake watched from a distance, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. Over the years, baking had become a therapeutic outlet for her, a passion she had long held closely, and now it felt like a way to interweave her past with her present. While she mixed flour, sugar, and oil, she began to hum a tune. Jake's head tilted as though he was harmonizing with her, their little routines. The small acts of love, chaos and sweetness, built a life teetering on the edge of new beginnings. The rain grew softer, the wind giving way to the slow emergence of a scent she recognized well. It was the smell of possibility, the aroma of change, and just like that, both of them found solace in their imperfectly beautiful existence. Who knew what other surprises waited just around the corner? With Jake by her side, Sarah felt ready to take on whatever the world had in store, one chaotic day at a time. The mysterious package. The following days melted into a gentle routine for Sarah and Jake, like the warm sunlight breaking through the clouds. The book club meeting had been a delightful escape from her everyday life. Laughter spilled over coffee mugs, friendships deepened over heartfelt discussions, and Jake had won everyone's heart with his charming antics. It was during one of those shared moments that Sarah rediscovered a sense of belonging. Yet, on this particular afternoon, her comfortable routine was interrupted by an unexpected event that sent a shiver down her spine. As she returned home from a brisk walk with Jake, she noticed a small, unmarked package sitting ominously on her doorstep. Her heartbeat quickened. What on earth? She murmured under her breath as she stepped closer. The package looked unassuming, wrapped in plain brown paper, but there was something about it that set her nerves on edge. She glanced around, half expecting to see someone watching her from a distance. Jake, come here, she ordered, her voice dipping lower, almost a whisper. Jake trotted over with his tail wagging, his excitement unabated by her sudden wariness. He nuzzled her hand, sensing the tension coursing through her. What do you think this is? She crouched down, her fingers grazing the surface of the package. There was no return address, no clue as to its origin. Instinctively, she pulled away, feeling a mixture of curiosity and fear. Her heart raced with possibilities. What if it was something dangerous? Or worse, what if it was a cruel joke? Maybe it was just her imagination. But the last few years had taught her to be cautious. She had learned to guard her emotions, especially when it came to unexpected surprises. With Jake by her side, she tried to quell her rising anxiety. It's probably harmless, she assured him, even though uncertainty prickled at the back of her mind. Jake, ever optimistic and daring, nudged the package with his nose, encouraging her. In a fleeting moment of courage, Sarah made her decision. All right, let's see what's inside, she declared, gripping the scissors tighter. With each cut of the tape, her pulse quickened. She cautiously unfolded the wrapping, revealing a sturdy cardboard box beneath. As she pried it open, an unexpected sight left her momentarily speechless. Inside sat an intricately designed photo album, its cover adorned with a floral pattern that spoke of nostalgia and warmth. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up, gazing at it in disbelief. The sight felt oddly familiar, yet foreign at the same time. As she opened it, the pages were filled with photographs, snapshots of moments that seemed to capture her life with an uncanny precision. There were pictures of her and Max, taken during their many adventures together, and as she flipped through the pages, it was as if she was reliving those memories all over again. What the? Her breath hitched. A dazzling mix of emotions engulfed her: joy, pain, longing, each photograph delivering a potent reminder of the love and loss she had experienced. She hadn't expected this. She hadn't wanted to remember. Yet here it was, laid bare before her. Jake, she whispered, feeling the sting of tears welling in her eyes. He tilted his head, concerned, and moved closer, resting his head against her leg. Sarah's heart swelled for the little creature who had unwittingly become her emotional anchor. She hugged him tightly and continued flipping through the pages, each turn revealing a fragment of her past that had been sealed away. There was a picture from Max's first day at home, the way he had looked at her with curiosity and affection. Another showed a sunny afternoon at the park, Max chasing after a frisbee with boundless joy, his fur shimmering in the sunlight. The album evoked profound memories, transporting her back to happier days, even as they reminded her of the depth of her loss. But then, amidst all the joyful snapshots, she stumbled upon a photograph of Max lying beside a nondescript flat package that looked strangely familiar. Wait, is that? She trailed off, flipping back to the previous page, her heart pounding anew. She had once received a similar package from a long-forgotten friend, filled with trinkets and memories from their childhood. But that was years ago. Why was this photo here? Who sent this? She wondered aloud, her mind racing with questions. She scanned the rest of the pages, hoping for a clue, a name, an indication about who might have sent it. But the album was devoid of any further hints, leaving her grasping at straws. Frustration clawed at her chest. Who could have known about her past struggles? Who would send her something like this? In a fit of anxious curiosity, she grabbed her phone and snapped pictures of the most intriguing ones. Maybe she could share them with Lila, seek her advice. But even as she thought about reaching out, uncertainty gnawed at her. What if it was someone from her past? What if they were trying to resurface old wounds? With every ringing question, the specter of her past lingered heavily in the corners of her mind. Jake nudged her hand again, breaking her train of thought. "Okay, buddy, let's take a breather," she murmured, desperately trying to push the creeping anxieties aside. She grabbed a comforting blanket and settled back against the couch, opening the album one last time. With every turn of the page, it was as if a knot in her heart was slowly being uncoiled. The tears that had threatened to spill finally flowed freely down her cheeks, but surprisingly, the tears weren't just of sorrow. They carried a release, the acknowledgement of love that hadn't truly dissipated, it had merely transformed. Suddenly, she heard a loud knock echo through the house. The sound jolted her from her reverie, sending adrenaline coursing through her veins once again. "What now?" Sarah whispered, panic setting in once more. She glanced at Jake, who had also perked up, his playful demeanor now replaced by alertness. "Stay here," she said instinctively, but Jake was already darting toward the door. Together they approached, each step growing heavier with anticipation. The air felt electric, thick with tension. As she peered through the peephole, her heart began to race. Outside stood a figure tall, cloaked in a dark jacket, their features obscured. They shifted from foot to foot impatiently, and dread washed over her. What if it was someone who hadn't moved on? Jake, ever the guardian, barked, sending a tremor through her. "Shh," she hissed, but it was too late. The figure, alerted, rapped on the door once more, this time more forcefully. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Sarah slowly unlatched the door, her heart a drum in her chest. She pulled it open just a crack, enough to see the person clearly. "Can I help you?" she managed to ask, mustering the courage to face a stranger. The rain still drummed persistently in the background, and the tension lay thick between them. The figure hesitated for a moment before speaking, their voice low and steady. I'm looking for my sister. Her name is Sarah Miller. Is this her home?" Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The name reverberated in her mind like a ghost from her past. "I am Sarah Miller. Why are you looking for me?" The figure stepped into the light, and as they did, recognition bloomed like a long-buried seed breaking through the earth. It was a face she hadn't seen in years, but one that held memories both sweet and painful. "I'm sorry to just show up like this," the person said, their voice heavy with unspoken words. "I didn't know how else to reach you." Frozen at the doorway, Sarah's heart raced. What did this old chapter in her life want? "Can we talk?" The figure stepped forward. "It's important." Jake let out a low growl, sensing the tension in the air, as Sarah's mind raced with possibilities, questions, and memories. Something was shifting in her world once again, precipitated by a package and this unexpected visitor. What was about to unfold, and could she embrace whatever came next? The unraveling threads, Sarah leaned against the doorframe, heart pounding, her mind racing. You're my sister? The words escaped her lips before she could fully comprehend the shock rolling through her. The figure before her was indeed familiar, yet so much had changed since they last crossed paths. The woman Maggie nodded, taking a cautious step forward. I know this is a lot to process. I wasn't sure you'd want to see me after everything that happened. Her voice trembled, laden with emotions that spoke of regret and yearning. Jake remained on high alert, his low growl contrasting with the tension hanging in the air. Sensing her dog's protective instincts, Sarah placed a calming hand on his fur. It's okay, Jake. Let's give her a chance. Still, her heart raced, torn between disbelief and a longing to reconnect. Maggie looked nervous, her hands fidgeting with the edges of her jacket. I came as soon as I received a note. It mentioned you. She paused, her gaze dropping. It mentioned Max, and I felt compelled to come. The mention of Max sent a jolt through Sarah, igniting a flame of unexpected anger mixed with deep sorrow. Memories of their fractured family and turbulent past flooded her mind. Where have you been, Maggie? She asked sharply, anger clouding her judgment. You vanished without a word when things fell apart. I know, Maggie replied, her expression pained. After the accident, everything spiraled. I thought it was best to stay away, to let you heal. But I see now that avoiding you was a mistake. Sarah's throat tightened. She could hardly find words. It had taken everything in her to move on from the past, to build a life despite the pain of losing Max and the fracture in their family. You were just gone. No calls, no messages, nothing. I was trying to protect you, Maggie said desperately, stepping closer, her voice a soft plea. But I see it was the wrong approach. The truth is, I've missed you every single day. Jake, seemingly sensing the emotional turmoil, began to sniff around Maggie's feet, his growl softening as he assessed the situation. Sarah glanced down, momentarily distracted by her dog's adjustment. You want to get to know her, huh, buddy? She murmured, torn between wanting to reestablish a connection and guarding her heart. Maggie offered a faint smile, crouching down to scratch Jake behind the ears. I can see why you love him so much. He seems like a good boy. Yeah, he is, Sarah replied, her voice still laced with uncertainty. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her sister's presence settling heavily around her. But this is a lot right now. Why did you come back after so long? Maggie straightened, the flicker of determination sparking in her eyes. Because there's something you need to know. Something about the package you just received. It came from me. Sarah's breath caught as she stepped back, confusion wrapping around her like a thick fog. You? How did you even know? He found out through a mutual friend. When I heard about Max, I realized how much I had also lost. I wanted to reconnect, but I didn't know how to reach you without causing more pain. Guilt flickered across Maggie's face. That album was my attempt to give you something back, memories that we both shared. But I wasn't prepared for how emotional the moment might be. This doesn't explain everything, Sarah shot back, her irritation growing once more. Why did you show up now? What else are you hiding? Because it's about more than just memories, Maggie urged, her voice desperate. It's about the truth our family kept hidden, one that could change everything you believe about our past. Silent tension filled the space between them. Sarah stood frozen, grappling with a mix of disbelief and curiosity. What are you talking about? Please, can we sit down? Maggie gestured toward the living room. It's a lot to unpack, but I promise you, it's important. Against her better judgment, Sarah nodded. Fine, but you'd better start explaining. As they settled onto the couch, Sarah's mind churned. What could possibly be so significant that it had sent Maggie rushing back into her life like a storm? With Jake curled up beside her, offering a sense of comfort, she focused intently on her sister. Maggie took a breath, her eyes earnest. Do you remember the summer we spent at Grandma's house? The summer before everything fell apart? Sarah nodded slowly. Even as a child, she had felt the warmth of those sunny days intertwined with cherished family moments. Yeah, it was nice. What does that have to do with anything? What happened that summer wasn't just innocent family fun, Maggie said, her voice trembling. There was a secret, one that didn't just involve us, one that pulled a larger web of our family together. The tension in the room thickened, curiosity piquing Sarah's interest. What do you mean? What kind of secret? Max wasn't just a part of our lives. He was drawn into something he didn't know he was a part of, Maggie murmured, glancing down as though the weight of the words was too much to bear. There were circumstances surrounding our family that implicated him. People made choices that affected all of us. Stop, Sarah said, her heart racing. What are you saying? Are you implying that Max was involved in something illicit? Maggie's eyes widened, a look of remorse flashing across her face. In part, yes. He didn't realize it at the time. Our parents were involved in things that, well, let's just say they kept us sheltered from a dark reality. I thought if I distanced myself from everything, it would protect you. Sarah felt her heart drop. You're saying our parents were mixed up in something shady? What does this mean for Max's death? Doubt crept in, tangling with her emotions. She had spent years grappling with the loss, hadn't she? Maggie nodded, the sadness in her gaze palpable. The night of the accident, there were more variables at play than we understood. Our parents shielded us from the truth. I don't even think they knew how deep the rabbit hole went. Why didn't you ever tell me before? Sarah's voice grew heavy with disbelief. You left me to piece together the fragments alone. I thought I could protect you from that pain, Maggie said, her voice a mere whisper. But I realize now that I made the wrong choice. I thought I could keep you from knowing the truth. A wave of betrayal crashed over Sarah, anger flaring anew. All those years of pain and solitude had felt unbearable, and now this revelation that shattered her understanding of her family. You think that keeping me in the dark was a good idea? I never meant to hurt you, Maggie protested, her voice catching. But it gets worse. Our parents, I think even their passing was part of something larger, something that wasn't just a tragic accident. Silence enveloped them like a suffocating blanket. Sarah's mind reeled as she tried to process these revelations. You're scaring me, Maggie. Are you saying there's still danger? Are people involved? It's a possibility, Maggie admitted, her tone grave. After I received news of Max's passing, I had no choice but to dig deeper. I feared that there were people connected to what happened, people who would still want to silence the past. An icy shiver ran down Sarah's spine. Are you serious? So, you've been running away from this the whole time? I thought staying away from you would keep you safe. Maggie's eyes glistened with unshed tears, her emotions raw. But it's only fed my guilt and fear. I can't keep running anymore, Sarah. I need to face this together with you, for Max's sake. Just as Sarah began to absorb the weight of Maggie's words, a rumble of thunder echoed from the distance, shaking the windows with an intensity that matched her racing heart. What do you propose we do? She questioned, fear and apprehension clawing at her throat. She grasped for any semblance of an idea in this whirlwind of chaos. I don't know, Maggie admitted, her voice a whisper. But I believe we need answers. I think delving into what happened to our parents, to the past, is key. In that moment, a cacophony of emotions surged through Sarah: rage, sorrow, and a flicker of hope. They had an opportunity to uncover the truth, but the thought of digging into the past made her stomach churn. In an unpredictable world, a part of her longed for resolution, yet another part trembled at the unknown. But if it was all tied into Max's life, their live show, could she turn away? With Jake's comforting presence beside her, the love she felt for him ignited her spirit. Okay, Sarah said finally, her voice steadier now. Let's uncover this together. I need to know. For Max. As the rain pelted against the windows, the two sisters faced a path fraught with the perils of unveiling dark family secrets. They could feel the threads of their past pulling together, threading into a tapestry that held more than just memories. It held the power to change everything. The storm outside reflected the tumult within, and as they prepared to take the plunge into the unknown, Sarah could only hope that the light at the end of the tunnel was worth the darkness they had to traverse. Dark secrets unveiled, the storm outside intensified, rain lashing against the windows with an unsettling rhythm that mirrored the tumultuous emotions coursing through Sarah. With the weight of Maggie's revelations looming over them, the quiet living room became a cauldron of uncertainty and fear. Tell me everything you know, Sarah urged, determination gaining traction in her voice. It was time to peel back the layers of their past, no matter how painful the insights might be. Maggie took a deep breath, her eyes refocusing as if she were preparing for battle. After the accident, I reached out to some old contacts friends of our parents, she began, her voice steady. I felt like someone needed to dig into their lives, into what they were involved in. The more I searched, the more I uncovered a tangled web of secrets. What kind of secrets? Sarah pressed, an uneasy sensation knotting her stomach. She was on the precipice of a revelation that could upend everything she thought she knew about their family. Maggie hesitated, her expression growing somber. They were heavily involved in some underground dealings, potentially mob-related. It wasn't just about family businesses. It was messy. They had connections that reached far beyond what we were ever told. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Are you serious? How could they keep something like that from us? It's common for families to shield their children from the darkness they're involved in, Maggie explained. I used to think they were just protecting us from danger. But now I see it was more complicated. I wished I'd scrutinized their lives more, but with Max's death, I didn't know where to go or who to trust. Images flooded Sarah's mind, her parents laughing. The facade of a perfect family life was now revealed as a stage draped in shadows. This doesn't make sense. If they were involved in something dangerous, why wouldn't they tell us the truth? Fear, I think. They might have been worried about what would happen if we knew. Maybe they believed it would spoil our innocence. Maggie's voice was filled with a mixture of regret and anger. I don't just want theories. I want answers, Sarah snapped, her patience wearing thin as the storm continued to rage outside. You mentioned you had contacts. What do they know? I managed to get in touch with an old investigator, someone who worked on the case after the accident. He's been researching the connections our parents had in relation to some criminal activities that could have tied back to Max. But she hesitated. He warned me that digging deeper could be dangerous. Even for you. Dangerous how? Do you think someone out there is looking for us? The thought sent a chill down Sarah's spine. I can't say. But I believe there are people who would prefer that the past remains buried. Maggie glanced at Jake, who remained vigilantly seated beside Sarah, sensing the tension in the air. That's why I was hesitant to come back. But now, having seen the package you received, I think we have to pursue this. We owe it to Max and to ourselves. A silence settled, thick with gravitas. As the rain pounded against the house, Sarah realized with growing certainty that she couldn't turn back now. The call for answers was stronger than any fear residing within her. Let's meet this investigator, she declared, her voice firm. But if we're going to do this, we need to do it together. I won't tackle this alone again. Maggie nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and determination. All right, I'll reach out to him. I think he's still based in the city. We can meet tomorrow. Tomorrow, Sarah echoed, steeling herself for the challenge ahead. Let's do it. With the plan in place, the sisters exchanged a knowing glance. Something had shifted between them, a reconciliation forged in the flames of an unearthing past. They were no longer just siblings separated by distance and secrets. They were allies on the cusp of unveiling a truth that could redefine their lives. As nighttime descended, muffled echoes of thunder rolled in the distance. Still, they managed to find solace huddled close on the couch, reminiscing about happier days while awaiting the revelation that tomorrow would bring. The next morning dawned, the air crisp and charged with electricity. Sarah felt an anxious excitement thrumming beneath her skin as she and Maggie drove to the investigator's office. With each passing block, she could feel her heart pounding in synchronization with the rhythm of the rain tapping against the windshield. Arriving at an intimidating brick building in the heart of the city felt surreal, the weight of 1,000 secrets pressing down on her shoulders. Sarah looked at her sister, who appeared equally apprehensive, fingers biting into the leather of her purse. Ready? Sarah asked, her voice a whisper. Maggie took a deep breath and nodded resolutely. Let's find out what we've been missing. Inside, the office was dimly lit and cluttered with case files. The investigator, a weathered man with sharp eyes named George, greeted them with an air of professional detachment. I've been expecting you. Expecting us? Sarah questioned, her heart racing. You knew we were coming? Only because your sister made a compelling case over the phone, George replied, motioning for them to sit. I've got some findings related to your family that could explain a lot, but you should be warned. This goes deep. I don't want to frighten you, but you need to be prepared for what you'll hear. Sarah swallowed hard, nodding in agreement. He began sifting through papers, revealing a series of photographs. Your parents were involved in some serious dealings. It appears they were linked to a larger organization known to smuggle contraband and deal in illegal exchanges. Images of her parents with unfamiliar faces flashed across the table. The gravity of the situation loomed larger than ever. Why would they get involved in something like this? Maggie looked at George, anger and confusion swirling in her voice. Desperation, perhaps, George said quietly. Financial difficulties could drive people to make choices they wouldn't normally consider. Or maybe they were coerced. In the files, I found connections between them and a figure referred to only as the handler. My investigation has pointed to them being the middleman for illicit activities. Sarah's mind reeled. Do you think they had something to do with Max's accident? The words tasted bitter on her tongue. George nodded solemnly. It's a possibility. The handler's network is extensive, and if your brother happened to stumble into something he shouldn't have... The room grew heavy with implications. And you believe they might still be out there? Maggie inquired, her tone laced with fear. Considering the circumstances, it's likely. He leaned forward, his sharp gaze locking onto theirs. If they have a network still in operation, they wouldn't take kindly to anyone digging into their past. Fear settled like an unwelcome guest in the pit of Sarah's stomach. So what do we do now? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I suggest you proceed with caution. Begin by uncovering every thread you can about the handler and your parents' affiliations. But know this, being pursued by people like that can lead to unforeseen dangers. I don't care, Sarah replied, her voice fiery with purpose. I'll face whatever comes our way. Maggie shifted, her expression mirroring the turmoil in Sarah's heart. Are we really prepared for what we might find, Sarah? What if there are people who don't want us to know? I have to know the truth, Sarah insisted, a fierce determination awakening within her. For Max, for us. George observed their exchange with a mix of admiration and concern. Then proceed wisely. Gather information on the handler. There are resources and connections I can share that may help. As they left the office, a sense of purpose ignited within Sarah, propelling her forward. They had discovered pieces of a puzzle broader and darker than they had anticipated. She felt empowered by the alliance with Maggie, their shared intent tethering them amidst an uncertain future. But as they walked to their car, an ominous prickling sensation crept up Sarah's spine. The storm clouds had dissipated, yet a gnawing doubt lingered. Were they truly ready to confront the forces intertwined in their lives? Suddenly, a figure caught her eye across the street, a dark silhouette, hidden by the shadows of an alley. The moment their eyes met, dread unfurled in the pit of her stomach. For a split second, she thought she recognized the figure. Did you see that? She whispered urgently to Maggie. What? Maggie asked, bracing herself. That person, they were watching us. Maggie glanced over her shoulder, but the figure had vanished. All that remained was the echo of the rain-soaked pavement glistening in the afternoon light. Let's get back, Sarah said, anxiety creeping into her veins. We need to regroup. As they hurried back to the car, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they had stirred something dark a force that might not rest easy until they were silenced. The secrets of their past were not just lingering specters. They were waking up, and Sarah knew, uncovering the truth would come at a price. The stakes had never been higher, and with a sense of foreboding gripping her, she understood that the journey had only just begun. The shadowy figure lurking out there was just the beginning, and in this game, they would need to be more than mere sisters. They would have to become warriors on their own path toward redemption. With resolve burning within her, Sarah was prepared to face whatever darkness awaited them.